evening. Just to note, the reason why we did not do a tahanun this morning or today was because, as we said, we had a brit milah today, and if either the mohel or the father or the sandak is present, we don't do tahanun. And since I was the mohel today, that's why we did not do tahanun. Now, we're going to speak about something very interesting, something that we all like, and it's the season for this time of the year, Sufganiot. Now, where does this minhag come from? Why did this minhag come about? So the reason for this is because obviously we know that the main miracle for Chanuka happened with oil. So what did we do? We made a minhag out of eating oily food. Now to Sfaradim, as well as Ashkenazim, Sufganiot came along. However, Ashkenazim also added the concept of latkes. Now why did they add latkes? We have to understand that based on where people lived in certain times of history is the way that their food developed and based on what and how they ate. For example, if you look at a Sfaradi's dafina or hamin, there's different ingredients than an Ashkenaz cholent. What's the reason? None of them is a halacha, and the minhag, it's not really a minhag. It's based on whatever they had. A hamin, a dafina, a cholent, however you want to call it. It's basically throwing everything you have available into a pot before Shabbat, and then whatever comes out Shabbat morning is what we're going to eat. That's literally what it was. And therefore, for Ashkenazim, they had an abundance of potatoes in many areas of Europe, and that's how come they started shredding them and making their very famous latkas. To those of us who like them, and to those of us who don't, and would like to stay away from that heartburn, you don't need to. However, Sufganiot is a real minhag, especially for us, for Sfaradim. Rabbeinu Maimon, which was the father of the Rambam, interestingly enough, says, amongst all minhagim, and especially this minhag tif Sufganiot, that a person has to stick to their minhagim, and we have to eat Sufganiot on Chanuka in order to publicize the miracle. By Sufganiot, he writes it, which is a beautiful thing. Anyone who needs Sufganiot, we have our very own Red Hood Baker. His Sufganiot we tried this morning for the Brit Milah were amazing, very, very good tasting. And it's something which we have to all make sure we observe. It's not so hard to get someone to eat something sweet anyways. So anyways, if it's a minhag, and anyways, if it promotes the publicizing of this miracle, why not do it? Now just two quick halachot when it comes to Sufganiot. One is linyan hilchot brachot, the laws of blessings, and one is with the laws of Shabbat. When it comes to laws of blessings, we know first of all the bracha and Sufganiot are mezonot. To the point where no matter how much of the Sufganiya you'll eat, unlike cake and cookies, which is baked, since the Sufganiya is fried, no matter how much you eat will always be mezonot and always ala micha, even if you eat over 230, over 300 grams, no questions asked. That's when it comes to the bracha. Now, if you're going to eat it in a meal, let's say you're eating pizza, you made a motzi, or you're eating a bread meal, and then you're having Sufganiot for dessert. Are you supposed to make a bracha on it or not? So the halacha is as follows. If you're eating it right after the meal, and it's almost like part of the meal, just like all desserts, most desserts, not all desserts, you will not make a new bracha on it. However, Chacham Ovadia Yosef says best would be, like we should ideally do on Shabbat, is first do Birkat HaMazon before the Sufganiot come to the table, and then you can make a new bracha of mezonot and then ala micha. But again, if the Sufganiot were already brought to the table before Birkat HaMazon, no new bracha is made. Now linyan Shabbat, for the halachot of Shabbat, are you allowed to heat up a Sufganiya on a plata, on a hot plate, on a blech? Would you be allowed to or not? What's the question? The question is on Shabbat you're only allowed to heat up dry food. In a Sufganiya, and especially the better Sufganiot, there's some good jelly inside. Is the jelly considered liquid enough that you're not allowed to heat it up on Shabbat, or is there no issue? Halacha is as follows. And this halacha is not only for Sfaradim, which would only make sense for Sfaradim, but even Ashkenazim. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach also said that not only Sfaradim, but also Ashkenazim could heat up a Sufganiya. And the reason for it is because it's not the majority of the Sufganiya. A Sufganiya is not looked at a liquid that has a little bit of solid to it. No, it's a solid that's filled up with a little bit of liquid. And even in percentage-wise and ratio-wise, there's obviously much more dough and substance rather than the liquid. So again, halacha l'maaseh is we will be allowed to heat up a sufganiyah on Shabbat, obviously in a permissible way, not in an oven or not turning on the stove, but we're talking about on a plata, on a blech, on a hot plate. That would definitely be allowed. Chazak u'baruch. We invite everyone to come tomorrow morning for shacharit at 7 a.m. and 5:10 in the evenings. Chazak u'baruch.